Welcome to Peaches and Cream, y'all. Today we're going to be making apple pie. I've wanted to share this recipe with y'all for a while, but I just haven't gotten around to it until now. Anyways, I'm super excited to be sharing it with y'all today. So we're going to start out with 3 cups, that's 390 grams of regular all-purpose flour, and I've also added 1.5 teaspoons of salt to the flour and just mixed it up. I'm going to be grating the butter into the flour. You don't have to grate it. You can use a pastry blender or a knife or a fork to kind of break it up into really small pieces, but I find this really easy. I'm going to finish working the butter into the flour mixture using my hands. The idea here is that you want to break the butter down to the smallest pieces you possibly can. That's going to create the flaky, tender texture that you want in pie pastry. Alright, so now I'm going to add whole milk. It's going to be 2/3 of a cup, that's 165 milliliters. I'm not going to add it all at once, I'm going to add it like half at a time because it may not need all of the milk. You don't want your pastry to be too wet. That's going to make it fall apart and not hold its shape very well as it bakes. So I add it a little bit at a time and just mix it together, and then when I start to feel that dough form, I'll go in with my hands and kind of press the dough together to finish off that mixing process. Then I'm going to cover it with some plastic wrap and place it in the refrigerator while we prepare our pie filling. I'm going to be using Granny Smith apples today. I also like to use Matsu apples. Both are very tart and very crisp. They hold their structure really well when you bake them. They don't become really soggy. I'm just going to peel and core the apples and then slice them up. I'm going to place all the apples in a large bowl, and then I'm going to add 1 cup, that's 200 grams of white sugar, a 1/4 cup, that's 33 grams of regular all-purpose flour, and 1.5 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. Mix this until it's fully incorporated, and then we're going to get our pie dough out of the refrigerator and roll it out on the countertop. Flour the countertop pretty generously. You really don't want to underdo the flour. It's better to have a little too much, and you can always like kind of brush it off, than have too little and your pie dough stick to the counter and you have to pull it all up and roll it all out again. I'm going to work with half the pie dough at a time. I'm going to be rolling the dough out to about 13 to 14 inches in diameter because I am making a 9-inch pie. Fold the dough in quarters, and then we're going to place it into our pie plate, and we're going to unfold it in the pie plate. That will actually help us to transfer it without it tearing. Alright, so now I'm going to pour the apple cinnamon mixture into the pie base, and then we're going to work on the top pie crust. Roll the other half of the dough to 13 to 14 inches in diameter and fold it in quarters, just like we did the bottom crust. I'm going to quick clean up my area a little bit because I want to push the pie closer to the camera so that y'all can see what I do when I'm unfolding the dough. It's really simple, but it's nice if I can give y'all a shot where you can see it pretty clearly. So I'm just basically unfolding it, and then I'm going to press the edges out so they're really nice and flat, and then trim off any excess dough that's hanging over the edges of the pie plate. Kind of use the edge of the pie plate as a guide. And then I'm just going to crimp the edges. You can do this with a fork or with your fingers like I am. And then we're just going to cut little vents in the top with a knife. We're going to start the pie baking in a 425-degree oven for about 10 minutes. And then we're going to reduce the oven temperature to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and bake it for about 40 more minutes. The way you can tell that it's done is that filling should be bubbling up through the vents we cut in the top of the pie. And then the other thing is you should be able to poke a knife down inside one of those vents and test the apples to see if they're done. They should be tender but not mushy. During the last 10 to 15 minutes of baking, I cover my pie with some foil to keep it from browning too much. Especially the edges will start to over brown while the filling is not quite done. Let the pie cool for a couple of hours before you serve it with whipped cream or vanilla ice cream. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more recipes. Thanks for watching.